She's also a founder. Okay, pardon. And she is also a research officer and tutor of the University College of Estate Management in the United Kingdom. So it's a great honor for us and a great privilege to have you here, to have the representatives of your network being here with us and sharing the valuable experience and observations. I had a unique chance to meet you in person this summer, and I'm really excited about you joining our event. So please take part. We were eagerly waiting for you, and we are eagerly waiting for your presentation now.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I will, this session, especially presentation of our group, is going to be recorded. So please be mindful of that. Thank you very much. And I will share the screen now. So respected Professor Anatoly Getman, respected Daria Daitrenko, please excuse my pronunciation here, respected Tanyana Sakharuk, my dear friends, network coordinators and moderator and co-moderator of today's program, Dr. Eugenie Chutnos and Eugenia Copicio, plenary speakers and my fellow network coordinators, Dr. Peter Jamie Preves from Taiwan, Dr. Naeem Shahzad from Pakistan, Dr. Issa Aleke from Germany, Greg Rothlinier from Australia, Professor Dr. Jose Estevez from Brazil, and my two young network coordinators, Sodamini Desai and Alok Panigari from India. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very honored to present this panel discussion today, and those who will be listening to this recording later. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you are joining us from today. So thank you for joining us to engage and inspire the 5th KHARKIV International Legal Forum panel discussion on environmental and legal aspects of sustainable development. And I am so much delighted and honored to welcome you all and present my views. And also thank you very much for providing me this opportunity to support this forum and bring my network's view to this international forum. I'm so grateful to the local sponsor, Konrad Adenauer Foundation in Ukraine, and the international sponsor, the UN Global Compact. So here I am. I have been already introduced. I'm founder of Global Sustainable Futures Progress to Partnership Network. I'm research officer and tutor at the University College of Estate Management, who also give in-kind support to this network. Parallel to this, I hold lecturer roles at few universities, and this allows me to work with students and contribute to sustainable urban built environment practices, including environment management principles and practice. Through this role, I have established my expertise in urban priorities, building planning policies and regeneration, resource management and security, environmental pollution assessment, mitigation and enhancement, environmental law, contract law, and many other fields. I bring here my network expertise and the speaker's expertise in integrating human rights in environmental laws and policies, particularly to groups in vulnerable situations. So my dear friends, before going further, I would like to introduce my network, Global Sustainable Futures Progress to Partnership Network. I'm proud to announce that we are online network with 700 very enthusiastic coordinators from 100 countries. This network, of course, offers networking opportunities and serves as a capacity building and knowledge exchange among and between us. The vision of my network is that we play a leading role in creating an inclusive, collaborative, innovative, and engaging platform for early career researchers and like-targeted stakeholders, including startups and entrepreneurs, supported by senior researchers and business leaders, where everyone can share in their research, innovation, visualization, and enthusiasm in parallel to network success. I'm just concerned that you can see my slides and everything. You can listen to me properly.
Yeah, it's quite clear.
Yes, all is okay.
Okay, thanks. So our priority is to empower communities and build capacity for sustainable practices. We strive to improve economic, social, and environmental conditions and to enable fair and inclusive society. We network and engage for more sustainable systems and co-create sustainable and resilient development pathways and to secure sustainable futures for all and everyone. Our fundamental objective is to create a strong research environment, building to a multidisciplinary and multi-sectoral team of endogenous professionals that would be capable of pursuing and utilizing participatory and integrative approaches in solving public and environmental sustainability problems. In addition to this, our key focus is to encourage mobilization and engagement. And here I mean not just traveling, but this particular example of such mobilization and engagement is this event, building a community of practice and producing a critical mass of good practices. So I have put here my links to visit us where you can see our web pages and also join us if you would like to join our network. I will be sending this PDF later to the organizers so they can spread our word as well as our presentation. We also do main 3 activities, which is like each month we choose the goal of the month announced by the UN and engage with it through social media. And we have WhatsApp, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, blog, Slack channel, and so on. We are also associated with Future Earth, and we have created a circle there, and you are also invited to join all these social media channels and this Future Earth Circle. Secondly, we do every month, we engage with strategic and emerging global debates through monthly seminars. And these seminars serve as networking and capacity development sessions. They are recorded and they are live on YouTube. Finally, most importantly, we develop innovative research projects engaging with global issues targeting 1 or more Sustainable Development Goals 2030 and beyond. So the theme, environmental and legal aspects of sustainability development, is a poignant reminder of the risk we face if we do not act swiftly and with purpose. We are at risk of irreversible degrading the natural systems that sustain us, and we are far from reaching our goal of leaving no one behind. The COVID-19 pandemic has widened inequalities in almost all areas, increased societal challenges and global risk of human health and well-being, economies, and the environment. Climate change is still an existential threat to humanity. As the economies emerge from the pandemic, collective efforts are needed for clean growth, creating a zero carbon society, reducing social, environmental, and economic inequalities, and increasing societal capital and management capabilities to address climate change. Emergent future requires due creation of global green economies and accountability. More ambitious, more transformative, and more integrated responses are urgently needed. We need evidence-based and action-oriented policies and practices, highlighting the indispensable role of science and education in ending hunger, tackling climate change, reducing inequalities, and accelerating progress across the Sustainable Development Goals to secure sustainable global futures. Owing to the growing climate change impacts worldwide, mainstreaming climate change adaptation is urgently needed. Development plans must consider the concerns of climate change to increase the effectiveness of mitigation, its consequences. The critical aspect of it is sufficient awareness of the decision maker in minimizing climate change impacts at all levels. That said, despite well laid out policies and frameworks worldwide, particularly at the country level and the sectoral levels, for example, the Climate Change Act in the UK, and likewise the National Climate Change Policy of Pakistan, and Environmental and Climate Change Law 2021 in India, Canada National Marine Conservation Areas Act, a cooperative approach to manage food risk through flood risk management framework in Australia, and that is particularly law number 12305, and Brazilian national policy on solid waste. There remains a gap in its implementation in true spirit, and the involvement of a broad range of stakeholders is required to ensure the effectiveness of these policies and mainstreaming adaptation efforts. So climate change impacts are complex and require coordination across multiple sectors. At the national and sectoral level policy stage, multi-sectoral entry points can warrant effective climate change mainstreaming into development plans. So the panel will introduce the IPCC 6th Assessment Report, AR6 Climate Change 2021, and the legal ramification to sustainable developments. Following this, it will dwell into how multi-sectoral entry points can warrant effective climate change for mainstreaming into development plans. Next, there will be the discussion on how the current UN decade of action can be instrumental in initiating sustainability and legal frameworks for marine resource management. Flowing from there, we will land into Australia to critically review the take of the Australian government for legal implications for stormwater infrastructure for accessibility and inclusiveness. And then we will visit Brazil to understand why local governments fail to meet legal frameworks in Brazil, particularly from the waste management perspective. Having heard about Brazil, it would be fascinating to know the development of India waste management policy and framework. And finally, the panel will close by understanding the effectiveness of SDGs in rendering protection to the environment at the international and national levels. So the first speaker is Dr. Ferez Coco John Janney, and he is PhD in biotechnology and Des Master of Demography and Master of Public Health, Environmental Health. He is working in Tunghai University International College for delivering sustainability science and engineering. He's also a researcher at the Institution of Biotechnology and a lecturer in China Medical University Hospital. He's also a researcher at the Bond University, and he has served as a lecturer to human ecology And he is also lecturing in ecology and conservation. And he has been he has a long experience of teaching. So I will invite Dr. John Jenny, if he is already present here, to present his presentation. I don't see him, so we can skip him for now. And if he joins us later, we can invite him to speak. So let me share again. So now I invite Dr. Naeem Shahzad, Associate Professor and Head of Department from, he's Head of Department in Environmental Engineering and Post-Graduation in Disaster Management. His current research focuses on the environment and climate change, and he is leading many master level research on related topics. Presently, he is serving as a head of department, Water Resources Engineering and Disaster Management at the National University of Science and Technology, Pakistan. And he has authored international and national high impact journals and presented his research work in numerous international conferences. And so he has also attended many conferences and training workshops at UN and non-UN organizations. So I will stop sharing this and I will invite Dr. Naeem Shahzad. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Renuka. I hope I'm audible. My apologies that my camera just stopped working, maybe some Murphy's Law. Unfortunately, I'm unable to use my camera, but I'll be sharing my screen. I am Dr. Naeem Shahzad. I'm presently Head of Department Disaster Management at National University of Sciences and Technology, Pakistan. And I'll be just sharing with my screen so that you can have a look of about my presentation. I hope this screen is visible to everybody.
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay. So in the next...
just put it on a slideshow, please.
Yes. Okay.
Perfect.
So in the next 8 to 10 minutes, I'll be discussing and I'll be throwing light on mainstreaming climate change into the development projects. And it is one of the most important topics nowadays to mainstream the climate change adaptation into these projects. You all are well familiar, and you must have witnessed that the last 3 decades show a steady increase in the number of disasters, mostly weather-related events, which are shown in green, blue, and orange bars. And you can well imagine that as we move ahead in this century, the green, blue, and orange bars are on the rise. The increase in loss events is attributable to an increase in disasters and to the fact that more people and assets are exposed to the impacts of natural hazards, which are converted to man-made disasters owing to human interventions. So we need to do something immediately, and we need to act now. The phenomena of increasing intensity and frequency of disasters can be attributed to climate change. Besides number of strategies and techniques to reduce disaster risks, adaptation to climate change is very important, since climate change has been exacerbating the disaster impacts, and there is a need that we mainstream climate change adaptation into our development plans and policies. Unfortunately, the developing countries are the most vulnerable to these climate change impacts. And these impacts are worsened because of large scale of economy in these countries is climate sensitive sectors, which include the agriculture, the tourism, and so on. These countries are prone to natural disasters like floods and droughts, and it adds to the existing water resource stresses in these countries. Besides this, there are multiple stresses and lower adaptive capacity of these developing countries for the reason due to limited financial, institutional, technological capacity, in addition to the limited access to the knowledge. The impacts are disproportionately acting on the poorest countries and the poorest people, exacerbated by the human health conditions of these countries, the food insecurity, malnutrition, clean water, and other resource access concerns. This figure shows that the interrelation between the climate change, the disaster risk, and the development. It explains how exposure and vulnerability to weather and climate events determine impacts and the likelihoods of the disaster risk, which is in the center. That means that as the vulnerability, as the exposure goes on increasing, that the circle of this disaster risk goes on increasing. We need to mainstream climate change adaptation into the development. And for this mainstreaming, we need to make a process that is a normal process. That means it is a business as usual. The mainstreaming process should not be one of exercise, but rather a continuous from short to long term. And it is not an end in itself, and it should rather be a strategic approach. The process that will result in appropriate measures being taken to adapt to climate change and ensure sustainability, so that all elements of development processes, which includes the policies, the plan, different programs, do not create new forms of vulnerability. Why we need to mainstream climate change into the development plans and policies? For the reason that climate change is a potentially significant threat to ongoing development and poverty reduction efforts. We are pursuing economic growth, but not sufficient to respond to the climate-related challenges. The climate change impacts are complex and require coordination across multiple sectors. The standalone responses to climate change may distort the development priorities and foster maladaptation, because if the countries are already struggling with regards to relocation of their funds, and a disaster occurs, there would always be a need to stop the development projects and relocate those funds towards the response and recovery activities to that disaster. An adequate and strategically designed response can thus bring a significant development benefits. Why we need to mainstream climate change at lower levels of governance? For the reason that at subnational and local levels, these levels are best levels for observing and understanding the development and climate change impacts. The vulnerability and adaptive capacity are context specific and can be addressed at these small levels. The most adaptation options require the local implementation, because the local people are more vigilant and they are more knowledgeable about the local challenges in that area. And they have a potential for plotting and pioneering the initiatives. And once they do that, they will take the onus of that project, and it would be a success in that case. Here, I would like to discuss the main entry points for mainstreaming this climate change adaptation into the policy cycle. From the agenda setting point of view, we need to find the entry points and making the case while we are setting the agenda for the national development planning. And we need to mainstream climate change into policy and planning processes. And as we reach the implementation and monitoring stage, we need to beat the implementation challenges, which is a big challenge in most of the developing countries, especially and Pakistan is no exception to that. We have a climate change policy back in 2013, but there are still large implementation gaps with regards to the implementation of climate change adaptation and mainstreaming of climate change adaptation into our plans. These are the main entry points at the national and sector policies cycles. The national level provides the overall guiding policy framework within which the lower levels, the sectoral and the subnational levels operate. Sector policies are programs that directly contribute to the operationalization and implementation of the national policies and strategies. And some key functions are best exercised at national level, which include the collection and analysis of climate-related data, setting up of early warning systems, overall disaster risk reduction planning, and in the absence of a national level response to climate change, sector level initiatives may start developing capacities and good practices. National as well as sector-specific legislation regulations can have an effect on the vulnerability and adaptive capacity of the country, and it can create incentives and disincentives to engage in climate adaptation and mitigation. At the policy cycle level, we need to recognize the climate risk. But at the planning level, we need to include climate-related programs and the projects at sectoral and cross-sectoral levels. And once we are allocating the resources, we need to allocate funding for the climate-specific actions. At the national level, we need to relocate funding to the vulnerable or the priority sector regions, while at the sectoral level, we need to incorporate the climate considerations in the project selection criteria, and we need to incorporate climate-related activities as well. The key institutional requirements for effective mainstreaming can be narrated as the cross-sectoral and cross-level coordination cooperation, the powerful champions at the national level, for example, the Office of the Prime Minister's, Ministries of Finance, Budget and Planning. You must have heard through the media that the Prime Minister of Pakistan is very concerned as far as the climate change impacts are concerned. The Billion Tree Tsunami project launched in Pakistan speaks of his initiatives with regards to climate change adaptation. Besides that, we have also contributed effectively as far as the nationally determined contributions, NDCs, are concerned. Another effective mainstreaming technique is integration of the new thinking, new research in planning and monitoring systems and processes. We need to share experiences. We need to disseminate the good practices, timely stakeholder participation at all various scales, and the strengthening of the capacities of the stakeholder at various scales. The key stakeholders in this climate change adaptation mainstreaming are the Ministries of Finance, sector-specific competencies, ministries, sector management agencies, and you can see it on the screen. The most important one of them is the members of the parliament who are on the helm of affairs, which decide the different policy guidelines with regards to a country's concern. There are top-down and bottom-up approaches. Both of these approaches are required. Top-down from national level to the sub-national levels. The model and scenario, this approach is model and scenario-driven, and it is focused on the physical impacts and biophysical vulnerabilities, and it can be adopted through national policies and strategies. While the bottom-up approach is the stakeholder approach, and it is focused on prevailing socioeconomic, environmental conditions and on the social vulnerabilities. It is also best adopted because it is a community-based adaptation approach, and we can use pilot projects to imitate it at the national level. There is a two-way connection between climate change and sustainable development. The climate change influences natural and human living conditions and socioeconomic development on one way, while the society's priorities on sustainable development influence the greenhouse gas emissions causing climate change and vulnerability. The key challenges in climate change adaptation towards mainstreaming into development plans is first and foremost is the eradicating the extreme poverty, because if you are poor, you won't be bothered about the different policies and plans. You need to, it is a vicious circle of poverty that engulfs you with regards to different aspects which lead to disasters. Mastering the energy economy environment dilemma, above all providing the energy to meet our economy's need without wrecking the climate and environmental needs. Addressing the implementation gap, as I've already discussed that the major issue focusing on Pakistan is the implementation gaps which still exist despite having a clear climate change policy since 2013. We need to adapt to the degree of climate change that can no longer be avoided, and managing the intensifying competition for the planet's land, water, and biomass resources, which are already shrinking. It can happen. How it can happen? That's if we go for green solutions, economic systems management, we adapt to climate change. We reduce our risk for disasters, and we adapt to the climate change. And all these three circles encompassing the sustainable development, they move towards the central circle, which is the sustainable development. That means we are reducing the risk. We have already adapted to the climate change, and we have solutions, green solutions, and economic system managements, all leading towards the sustainable development. With this, I'll thank you all for patience in listening, and I'll appreciate if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to answer those.
Thank you very much. Thank you. we can take the question answers at the end of the session. So if anyone have the question answers, can put in the chat, and we can invite Naeem or all our panel speakers to answer them. So next we have Dr. Issa Aleke, and he is a PhD on environmental. He has a PhD on environmental science, that is sustainability science, from the Brandenburg University of Technology, Cottbus, Germany, and MSc on environmental and resource management from the Brandenburg University of Technology. And he has also another master's on marine science, and that was from University of Lagos, Nigeria. And so he is a visiting graduate scholar at the School of Resource and Environmental Studies and College of Sustainability in Dalhousie University, Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. So I invite Dr. Issa to present his speech. Thank you. You are muted.
So can you hear me very?
Yes, we can hear you now. Again, you are muted, sorry.
Okay, yeah, I think it's from the host.
But we can see several slides on your, several screens maybe. Yeah, please put it on the.
Yes,
yeah.
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
Yes, perfect.
So can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen, and we can hear you properly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to discuss on topics that is affecting us globally, especially in the aquatic marine environment. We are all living on land, and nobody's doing this presentation on the sea or on water. And the aquatic environment is more than 70% of the earth. So it tells us that there are a lot of benefits more than the land from marine environment. And that is why we want to talk about the sustainability initiatives and the legal frameworks that is essential for sustainability of the marine environment in the UN Decade of Action. Now, this cartoon, this comic tells us about the problems affecting the marine environment. You can see these fishes, they have lost hope in their future. Why? Because they don't need to get to the adult stage before they are taken, because fishermen or fishers just go and take them without proper regulation and without properly following legal format. Also, this same ocean that we expect to benefit and depend on is facing so many problems. Some of them are overfishing, acidification caused by some factors, and climate change. Pollution that is called mercury pollution caused by human actions, and also the reefs and killing of species like endangered species. Now, for example, you can see the picture on my right, a lot of pollution affecting this environment. This has led to killings of various resources that can amount to huge financial or economic benefit. And look to my left, you can see globally, about 31% of fish population are overexploited. And this is based on FAO and WWF. Apart from that, about 58.1% of the fish stock in the world have now reached their maximum exploitation. In addition to this, so many of these fishes are taken illegally without following required laws and regulations. And lastly, about 30% of the world fisheries are not reported, which are big challenges. Now, each year, because the number of fish that are taken and are taken illegally, so we have what is called fishing bycatch. Now, bycatch is the unintended and untargeted species that they take from the ocean. And you can see this had led to about 320,000 seabirds that we have lost, about 100 million plus sharks lost, and 300,000 whales that are lost, including so many turtles. Why? What is the significance of all these species? Because all the food chain in the water body that supports primary and secondary production have been discarded by human actions. And also climate change issues. You can see climate change issues has affected the ocean temperatures. It has led to migration of some species. They have migrated from their area to another place. Acidity in the water body due to the greenhouse gases, and also some species that have exoskeletons like shrimps, crabs, because of their calcareous structures, have been affected. So all these are problems affecting the ocean, and those problems are not limited. All these gases, carbon dioxide, methane, ozone, they lead to a rise in salinity, they decrease the pH, they also lead to increase in the sea level, and also they have biological consequence by changing the distribution and abundance of organisms that are expected to provide benefit for human beings and also for animals. And in addition to the fisheries, you see fishermen are affected. So many fishermen, like my previous presenter said, that developing countries are mostly impacted by these problems of climate change. And that is why Africa and countries in South America and Asia are mostly affected. Apart from this, there are so many economic reduction for livelihood of people that dwell around water body. Now, the background. So because of all these problems, there is need to have a legal frameworks that are important to promote effective management of marine resources. Now, with this, sound legal frameworks helps to enable action that will facilitate sustainable development of this species. Without national laws being intact, resource management will be a problem, especially when there are various international laws. No, all these laws enables the right of individuals, of the people, not only the people, however, all stakeholders, and they need to connect together to interact to make sure that international laws are implemented and they have agreements based on instruments in order to comply and to enforce defaulters. Now, impetus for legal framework. Now, the reason why there is need for legal framework is to address global, local, and regional issues that is affecting human beings, such as issues surrounding human rights, gender, climate change issues, and issues that are issues surrounding achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So, hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. It was muted for a minute.
Okay, great. So because Previously, you can see that the world was suffering from achieving sustainable goals. That was when the MDGs, the Millennium Development Goals, was not able to achieve its goals. Now, we have the UN SDG goals. Presently, it's not desired, and that we are at the point of decade of action, where by all means, every party, all individuals should try as much as possible to find all ways to support so that we can achieve all these goals. Now, apart from this, there are so many unforeseen issues, disaster, emergencies like the COVID pandemic. Now, this has created a lot of problems on the environment, including to human beings. How? Because food supply has discontinued, value chain has been having problems, including supply chain, and these are created reasons why there is need to implement laws that will enable emergency responses. Now, the legal frameworks that surround marine sustainability, because of time, there are so many frameworks that support marine sustainability, but we are going to look at all the reasons why all these frameworks or legal frameworks are important. Number one, they are important to ensure that biodiversity are maintained and countries can follow and oblige to national jurisdiction of exploiting the resources. In addition, reason to secure the marine environment, especially for small-scale fishermen in developing countries majorly. Then also to promote sustainable biosecurity and address issues surrounding illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. Ways to ensure that there is food security, the welfare, the social well-being of fishers or fishermen are intact, and to enable promotion of sustainable, legal trade for marine resources across the globe. Now, just to mention few, there are more than 20 international instruments. I'll just mention few because of time. We have what we call the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea. We call it UNCLOS. Now, this generated a lot of science on the marine environment. After that, we have the 1993 agreement that ensures that organizations and countries comply with international conservation and management measures of fishing vessels in order for them to comply. After that, we have what we call the 1995 agreement on the 1982 Convention of the Law of the Sea, so that it can relate to conserving and managing species that are migratory. Apart from that, because of various issues that surround illegal and unreported fishing or regulations, we have the 2009 agreement on port state measure so that they can prevent illegal exploitation of the resources. Now, linking the legal framework with SDGs. Now, SDGs are not only indicators, the frameworks are not only indicators. However, there is need to connect them to achieve many of the goals that relates to SDGs. Now, SDG 14 is the major SDG that connects marine resources. However, all the SDG goals are highly connected, and you cannot isolate one from them. You can see SDG 1 is highly connected to SDG 2 to 3 down to 4. Then SDG 14 connects every SDG together, and that is why, based on the target, you can see that I said that the world is yet to achieve the target, and we are expecting that by 2025 or 2030, the world will be able to achieve the goals. For example, you can see the species are not managed, they are not achieved. You can see their overfishing is still increasing. They have not reduced subsidies, And even aspect of scientific knowledge, research capacity is not yet achieved. And even small scale fishermen, they have no access to the market, especially to foreign markets. Now, a brief report, you can see that by it is envisaged, the world is not on track to end poverty at all. And you can see that about 6% is still achieved. Now look at zero hunger. With zero hunger, it is not yet achieved. Likewise for all the goals, and that is why there is need to follow legal framework. And you can see the momentum to achieve this by 2030 is not yet achieved. And now the aspect of the decade of action. Presently, we are on the decade of action, and what it requires in order for us to ensure that all the legal frameworks are achieved, to mobilize everyone and everywhere over the world. And number two is on a matter of urgency, and it should be highly ambitious so that we can correct and achieve the problems that we have done in the past. Then lastly, we should have both social, technological, and all kinds of innovations that can help solve these complex problems affecting the marine environment, especially using complex legal framework. The way forward. Now, the way forward now in addressing these problems include how do we address emergencies and emergency situation. The COVID-19 that came created a lot of disaster, a lot of problems and disasters that led to creation of so many emergency laws. Those laws do not recognize stakeholders, and that is why we are still usually having problems. Globally, we are prone to create emergency laws without involving everyone, both the locals, the middle people, and the top people. Then also, there should be effective commitment to legislating, implementing, and ensuring we comply with all relevant laws, agreements, and regulations from international, and we try to find effective way to localize them. Then also, the principle that Renuka mentioned the last time, that leave no one behind principle, it's very important because legal framework and should not be done by individual people. Legal framework should be legislated by stakeholders, and as well, it should be enforced, complied, and also safeguarded by all. Everybody is included, including all literate and non-literate people. Then also to design programs and projects that will be able to review our laws both at the local, national, regional, and international level, so that we can be able to implement and enforce our plight and our activities. So with this, for example, programs like this is very effective, and I must congratulate the organizers and the panelists, including Renuka, the head of the team, for organizing such program like this. We need serious and several programs like this to enable the citizens to be aware of the laws and the principles that can enable our environment to be protected. So thank you so much. I really appreciate. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Issa. Thank you. Very provocating talk. And thank you very much for all the knowledge that you have distributed between us. If anyone has questions, they can hold for now, and we can come back after the session, like after we all finish speaking. Okay. So yeah, so I will share my screen now. And now we have Greg, and I suppose he is not present here. Is Greg present? No, so we will skip him. And I invite Professor Jose Estevez, climate leader from Brazil. He was former Information Center Coordinator at Global Forum 1992, Executive Director and Undersecretary of Public Investment at ADM City Development Agency, Nitoria, Rio de Janeiro. And he is a head coordinator at Frodes Rio, the Rio de Janeiro State Development Forum, and he leads at several expertise and expert organizations such as the Water Campaign, South Africa, WSSD, LAC Municipalities Group Attendance Coordination, Urban Management and Sustainable Development International Program, UN Habitat at Universidad Iberia Americana, Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, and he has also been in Wildlife Member 2020. He is a mentor at ICLEI Innovation Mentorship Program, South America, National Award. He has won National Award in Child Education by Foundation Abrim in 2004. And he has an efficient national prize in NGO Transparent and Effective Management by Canex Institution, Brazil. So I welcome Jose to share his knowledge with us. Thank you.
Hi there, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here. I understand that we will have a fast track, and I hope that you listen me well. I will probably—
Yes, we can listen you.
Okay, I will probably appear in a double screen, but I will make a presentation in this one that I'm here waving to you. So let's go. It's really an honor to be here. Thank you very much for our guests. Thank you very much for the leadership of our quintessential leader, Dr. Renuka Thakore. I will now share my screen with you. Can you see it on an appropriate way? Probably we will have a delay. Did you see it?
No, yes, I think it is just started sharing, yes.
Okay, I will make in a presentation mode.
Yes, please.
And I will try to make it in a hurry because we have around 8 minutes to make this presentation, so let's go.
It is not in PowerPoint, like slideshow yet.
Okay. I think there is a delay with my streaming, Renuka. Okay. Now
here you go. You are all right now.
Thank you again for the invitation to this International Legal Forum and to discuss further this subject of the environmental and legal aspects of sustainable development. Well, I have been proudly introduced by my colleague and leader, Dr. Renuka Thakore, and I will talk a little bit about why local governments fail to meet legal frameworks in Brazil and the huge highlighting the huge impacts of the public economy and the quality of life, of course. I am Professor Dr. Jose Estevez. My curriculum was duly read by our fellow Dr. Renuka. I really do a lot of stuff, like everyone that is probably attending this forum. I would like to highlight a time frame that begins with the coordination at the Global Forum in '92 up to the moment where I was feeling myself able to build and design campaigns of sustainable development to be implemented here in Brazil, mostly in the deprivated regions like the semi-arid regions in Northeast and the Southeast in Brazil. The timeline for SDGs and the importance of waste management to prevent increase of environmental impacts with the human waste disposal, they are well known. So I will not be another drop in this rain. And also, there are some important global calls to action to raise the awareness to this problem: conscious consumption, 5 R's, zero waste, etc. To raise awareness, to foster cooperation, and to make a mindset change. The COVID-19 pandemic lightened the impact of the waste disposal and you can look a picture of the art wearing a mask, a face mask, and it become and lead us to some major problems, especially with the hazardous waste generation. But these impacts are affecting the present, and I am too fast. Let's let's just come back to this, because this is a picture, an actual and real picture of a child living inside the problem that we are trying to address here in this discussion panel today. This is a Brazilian child, and this is the surrounding of the place where this child lives here in Brazil. Well, the huge impacts of waste disposal in the Brazilian municipalities began with the fact that we have inadequate waste disposal, and we have been responsible to increase the proliferation of many vectors. Despite of the fact we have, a so-called national solid waste policy that was established in the year 2010. And the main goal is with this national policy was to organize the way the country deals with the waste management. And the PNRS, or our national solid waste policy, determines that the public and private sector carry out waste management to prevent these materials to being addressed in the dumps and the city dumps, and also, provides for the prevention and reduction of waste generation, proposing the practice of sustainable consumption habits. This is a very strong message sent to all Brazilians. And by that time, we gave like a decade for all municipalities to, we gave a decade for all municipalities to accomplish with this national federal law. And we unfortunately did not reach the goal. Only about 15%, only about 15% of the municipalities in Brazil have accomplished to meet the goals of the national solid waste policy, and they started to be facing huge fines by the federal government. So it means that since the year 2020, local governments are paying more because they did not accomplish what was expected with this national solid waste policy that they have to abide. There is, I bring here to make a sample case, the gravimetric composition of the management of solid waste in the city of São Paulo in the year 2020. And I would like to highlight that we have to deal with this aspect with the circular economy approach, understanding the local government costs of not doing it, not minimizing waste, and not generating an increased income. The average gravimetric composition of solid waste in the city of São Paulo lead us to a couple of key findings. The first one is that the city buries in their landfills and dumps recycled materials of high economic value that could generate income and jobs. And the second major finding is that we are facing the worst part of the problems, that the organic waste that could generate energy is being put in open landfills. So if we have to decode, organic and urban equals a waste emergency. This is our waste emergency. I believe here in Brazil and in a lot of other different countries of the world. There is a national impact of solid waste management, a challenge to reuse the waste that is generated, especially in the urban areas. We are talking about the concept of the smart city. So we cannot move forward to a smart city framework if we do not have a appropriate solid waste management framework in place. There is some steps towards a more environmentally sustainable municipal solid waste, of course, but this is also a just planning from the municipality. And if we overview the impacts on public finance, in the year 2012, the city of São Paulo, I will stop a little bit here. Yeah, because this is what I would like to highlight. And the presentation is really in a hush. In the year 2012, the city of São Paulo spent 54 million reais and equals on a present currency rate, $10 million per month with waste collection. And by that period in 2012, the increase in waste production was about 55% higher if we compared with a decade before. When we move forward and make a time frame portrait of the years 2016 to years 2021 in the city of São Paulo, we will see or foresee a huge increase in both regular waste and recycling, but yet with huge impacts in public finance in the city. Take a look at this picture, because we have average in the year 2020 expenditure from the municipality of about 2.0 billion of reais, an average 167 million per month with waste collection and urban cleaning. And this public expenditure amount was 200% higher when compared to the year 2012. So the city this year, in the middle of a pandemic of COVID-19, was forced to increase that taxation bill, what is a problem, because we have many ongoing pandemic impacts to deal with. The impacts of public finance in the city of São Paulo, if we translate it for a more comprehensive number, if we consider the inflation rate accumulated in the period 2012 to 2020, that was about 50.65%. Let me get back. In the city of São Paulo, solid waste management budget has spent an average amount of 1 billion reais per year in public resources that could be applied to upgrade investment in other areas, such as education, health, leisure, development, housing, etc., that are literally 1 billion reais literally sent to trash. What is the question a good and skilled public administration will possibly do with this amount to benefit one municipality? So there are some propositions to a framework to connect the dots with public administration and SDGs, foster SDGs to local government laws, identify there is a delay here in my computer. Foster SDGs to local government laws, identify municipality priorities, have each SDG as a public policy backbone, merge treasury and public finance forecast as the outputs, not inputs, of cities planning and development. Here, foster SDG, identify municipality priorities, merge treasury and public finance forecast as the outputs of city planning and development, the measuring of the cost of not doing it, This is the key idea, to build the bridges to more strategic partnerships, and of course, monitor, evaluate, and review mandate results based on the city's permanent legacy, not from the politicians. There is an emerging social technology. Dr. Renuka and I will be really glad to explain later in the next forum that we have created, that was approved, that we call Trash Body. It's a very simplified technology that I'm using as a live sample to make what I call Chrome, that is a compact recycle organic waste management system that was a project selected by the Catalysa program here in the year 2021 in Brazil. It is really a simple social technology impact approach to mitigate the problem of organic waste management from households. Thank you for the invitation. Warm greetings from Brazil. These are my contacts that I leave to you, and of course you can follow me and reach me all the time. I will now stop here the sharing of my screen. Believe I did it. Did I?
Yes. No, not.
Stop sharing.
There's a delay.
Okay.
Yeah. Now it's fine. Now it's fine.
Thank you again very much for your invitation. Sorry for this little hush to explain a little bit, but I would love to and enjoy to share these thoughts with you and to present you as a live case, and who knows, to discuss further some possibilities of partnership with your cities and municipalities as well. Thank you very much for your invitation. Again, thank you for your kind presentation, my dear fellow Dr. Renuka.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jose. You have been always exciting and enthusiastic person to hear. And, you know, you have always taken your time to present. I know it is 6 o'clock in the morning in Brazil, and I was chatting with him at night, 4 o'clock. So your dedication is appreciated, highly appreciated. Thank you very much. So I will share now my screen. And I believe we have, let us see whom we have next. We have Sodamini Desai from India. So Sodamini, how are you? And she has a MSc in Development Economics from Symbiosis International University, Pune. She's a climate ambassador at Climate Interactive under MIT Initiative for Sustainability Forum. And she has represented India in Harvard College Project for Asian and International Relations and presented research findings on air pollution. Awarded as a Harvard Scholar for presenting research findings in front of world leaders such as Narayan Murthy, Mark Suzanne, Bob Strefan, etc. So she has worked on various projects on a public distribution system at Public Affairs Center, Beriguluru, effects of lockdown in food chains in India. And she is also working on spatio-temporal variation of criteria air pollution in selected cities of Maharashtra. So I invite Sodamini to take the floor now.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your warm welcome. And thank you for providing me with the opportunity. Even I'm the youngest here to present. And I beg a pardon if I go anywhere wrong. I'm so sorry about it initially. And I'll share my screen right now. Let me know if it is visible, ma'am.
Yes, it is visible, clearly visible. If you can go on the PowerPoint, slide.
Yes.
Show.
Just a second, ma'am. I'm doing it. Yeah. So good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, everyone, whichever time zone you're in. and I'm Saudamini from India. I'll be presenting my presentation on adoption of Sweden waste management model here in India. We are like recently year 2020, our Honorable Prime Minister has announced the various collaborations with the Sweden on various aspects such as research and development and technological aspects, and waste management is one important aspect among them. As we all know that Sweden is most sustainable country in the world, and having said that, it recycled around 99% of its waste all over the Sweden. So we are impressed by that, and our Honorable Prime Minister has decided to collaborate on this aspect with the Sweden. Before moving to the legal framework of India, I would like to talk about the present scenario that is existing in Sweden and in India. So in Sweden, they are following majorly 4 methods of waste management. Firstly, about the extended producer responsibility, where it is the responsibility of the producer to make his product environmental friendly at the initial stage itself, and it is the governmental policy there, and it can be used as a law also that aims at better waste management collection, and also the collected wastes are segregated into many kinds of sectors such as newspapers, electronic wastes, household wastes are collected separately here. And under this law, they also concentrate on the safety and health of the waste collection people there. And another method they follow here is the deposit system. Under this scheme, the people will pay a small amount as a deposit to the shop where they are depositing their material as a waste, and gets it refunded upon their return. So more than 80% of this materials will be recycled. So in Sweden, bottles and aluminum, many kinds of aluminum materials comes under this scheme. And apart from this, they have a very impressive scheme there, that is a taxes on landfilling. Many of the countries don't have here, including India. So that is introduced in the year 2000, where the people will be taxed on the certain kind of landfilling of the wastes there. On after the certain amount of the waste landfilling there, they have to pay the tax after that. So it is introduced in the year 2000, as I've said. This is to decrease the economic attraction of landfilling, because many of the countries landfilling is free, so we can dump and we can landfill the waste in anywhere across the country if we get the free land. So it is to decrease that economic attraction through the taxes on landfilling, and of course it is encouraging the environmentally accepting methods such as recycling, reusing and reutilization, etc. So, and another very impressive and very important policy driver is that the consent seeking. The consent seeking is nothing but the cooperation between the industries and the authorities of the Sweden in terms of negotiation to introduce the environmental and other regulations. It is very important scheme there. It is not only in the waste management, but in any kind of Sweden policy making, it is the major characteristic. Before any kind of policies, they will make sure that they will seek the consensus from both of these bodies, that is industries and the authorities involved in that process. And Sweden has adopted this national strategy for a circular economy, which is also called as waste hierarchy there. So waste hierarchy is based on majorly the environmental impact, that is like reducing the environmental impact of any kind of waste that is generated in Sweden, and making it economically more effective, and making it environmentally attractive and environmentally degradable. This is the present scenario of Sweden. And talking about the Indian perspective, here we have 4 kind of waste management systems, so which is commonly used in many of the developing countries as well as developed countries, but less used in developed countries. And of course, first is the landfilling. Here we don't have a taxes on landfilling. At any extent, we can landfill the waste at any extent without any cost or without any taxes. And another one is composting, which is a healthy kind of waste management here, because the all biodegradable wastes will be composted, and they will be used as a fertilizer to many kind of agricultural activities here, which is again very good for environment, and thereby it helps to cater the climate change, which is a very eco-friendly method. And another one is dumping, which is very harmful, of course, because we don't segregate at source the waste, and we dump without segregation of that. We dump the biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste in the common platform, which is very harmful for the environment and as well as the land itself. And another one is recycling. We have like 40 to 80% of the plastic that is recycled in India, when it is compared to 10 to 15% of the other developed nations. But yet we are coping up with the higher percentages of recycling here. So now I'm talking about the legal framework of waste management in India. When it comes to waste management, we have three kinds of bodies that will be governing the waste management. Firstly, the constitution. So it is, I'm very happy to inform you all that India is the first country to give the constitutional provisions for the protection of protection and environment, protection and improvement of the environment. So for example, Article 243 that provides a framework for the municipalities to carry out the functions as it relates to the solid waste management across the country. And Article 47 that imposes the duty on the state to improve the standard of living and public health of the workers that are involved in the waste management. And secondly, the ministries, that is the Ministry of Environment and Forest, is the nodal agency to deal with the environmental matters here in India. And it examines the awareness of research, awareness of this waste management method across the country among the people. And it also does the many kind of research and development initiatives. And it also assesses the initiatives that are taken by the various bodies across the India. So along with the Ministry of Environment, the state pollution control boards and the committees that are involved, that are also involved in the waste management. And next is governance. As a governance, central government has already enacted a various laws, that is a legislative laws to regulate the various kinds of waste management in a wide range. Under this wide range of waste management, we have households waste management, mining waste, agricultural waste, hospital waste, forestry waste, and many kind of wastes. But all these kinds of wastes are managed under the same common umbrella that is known as Environmental Protection Act 1986 under Indian governance. And to address these waste management system, even we have three bodies that are governing the waste management. We don't have a proper streamlining between these three bodies and proper cooperation between these three bodies to have an effective waste management. That is where the importance of adopting the Sweden waste management model plays a role here. So to understand or to streamline these three bodies, firstly, we have to aware the people about the waste management method, because as we are the largest democracy, we have to make sure that people are aware about this. So the importance of 3 R's plays role here, because we have to make people aware about these 3 R's, that is reducing the waste production at source itself, because more than 50% of the waste can be managed if we don't make the one. So if we concentrate on reduction of the waste at source, then the waste management will be effective as its own. And then it comes to reuse. If we cannot reduce the waste management, then we can reuse it. Reuse, that is nothing but the reutilization of the value of any item that should be prioritized. And under this reusage, to make the people aware and to give the policy recommendations and to give the initiatives to the government, the role of NGOs and private sector comes here to make them aware and to make the waste management effective. And recycling, of course, as I have mentioned before, about 40 to 80% of the plastic is recycled here in India. That is as compared to another 10 to 15% of developed nations, and 14% of the paper recycled, which should be increased in a near future. However, in developing countries, it is done by low income and informal groups for earning their livelihood. But that is not the case in developed countries. That is, they have a more advanced equipments, more advanced technologies to do so. That is a very intense technologies to manage the waste, which will be the different scenario for the developing countries. Hence, we have to adopt the methodology that is used in the developed countries such as Sweden. So we are now adopting that model to manage the waste here effectively. Now I'm talking about little bit about the positive and negative impacts of this collaboration from Indian perspective. So as we know that in democracy, government plays a very crucial role, because they have a very much prioritized sector here. When I'm talking about India, we have education and agriculture as a prioritized sector, and the government should allocate their funds in a huge amount to those prioritized sector. So which will be like in under which the waste management will be getting less funded. So if we prioritize the waste management, and if we privatize that sector, then the cost saving will happen for the government, and they can really easily allocate their funds to other prioritized sectors. And of course, we can expect the timely services from the privatized sectors on any issues that people are facing under this system, because they are responsible to answer their higher authorities. And as I said that they have a privatization sectors, they have a access to huge kind of funding, and they can expand this method across the country very easily, as they have enough funding. And it can reach every corner of the country easily, under privatized sector. And of course, we can expect the quality of services, as they have enough funding. The services availed from the privatized sector is also very high quality, and responsiveness is also timely from the privatized sector as it compares to public sectors, and it gets delayed usually in developing countries or a democracy like India. And of course, if we have enough funding, we can adopt advanced technologies and advanced methods to improve the effectiveness of the waste management. And when it comes to negative impacts, of course, the people, around 40 lakhs people, are depending upon the waste collection and waste management here in India. So they will be losing their jobs. If this sector get privatized. So that the legal framework should be done to take care of these people. And inequality and discriminatory practices, of course, it can be seen in any kind of privatized sectors. And environmental degradation, and any private sector, they are concentrating towards their profit motto. So because of that, they can set up their machines, they can set up their ventures in here and anywhere, and they can easily degrade the environment. And indiscriminate dumping, if they have a specific space for dumping of the waste, any kind of waste, and if people are not ready to go there, and that is the practical problem I'm talking here. If that is far, people are lazy to get there and dump the waste, and again it will happen like before the privatization. And monopolization, of course, the privatized sector, it is a huge project that will be funded by the government. So many of the biggest companies, they will concentrate on monopolization of the market under this project. And under democracy, government plays a major role, because we believe that the government is taking care of major chunk of the people. So it is like, after privatizing the sector, it is kind of undermining the public sector, so which can be a little negative impact of the privatization of waste management here. So finally, the little bit of climate change that I'm talking about here, it is how the waste management can address the climate change. So we believe that effectiveness of the waste management can be addressed, and the overall earth can be managed effectively if the waste is managed, because we are at that stage that we have to hire another planet to dump our wastes. So Sweden is kind of addressing this issue in a very effective manner. So we are attracted towards the Sweden kind of waste management model. And the disposal and treatment of the waste, that can reduce the emissions to the extent of more than 50%, that can address the climate change in very effective way. The reduction of the emissions can, of course, reducing the greenhouse gases emissions at global level, which can be reduction of the methane and the carbon monoxide and the carbon dioxide, which are more harmful for the environment. And by reducing these three emissions, we can, of course, address the climate change problem at global level. Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Sodamini. Thank you. You have done a brilliant job of comparing these and showing us the reality of the problems, issues, and also you have suggested solutions. So thank you very much for this. Okay, now we have, last but not least, let me share my screen. So last but not least, and the youngest, again, Alok Panigrahi from India. He is a certified energy manager, internal auditor for integrated management system and sustainability practitioner. He has 10+ years of diverse experience in the energy intensive energy sector in commissioning, operations, and auditing. Beyond being a professional, he is also a SDG ambassador involved in Nagrik Foundation lead SDG Chopal to generate awareness. And he is also an associate with us. He is working on various climate related disclosure standards and frameworks to evolve a proper reporting culture. And he's involved in multiple activities which lead to better clean energy transition and net zero pathways. So I welcome Alok to take the floor. Thank you. Are you having some trouble?
Yeah, am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, you are.
And whether my screen is visible right now?
No, we can't see your screen.
Well, thank you for the esteemed panelists, organizers of the 5th KHARKIV International Legal Forum on
Alok, we
environmental.
cannot see the screen. You haven't shared the screen yet.
I think there is some problem. I'm unable to share the screen right now.
Okay. Have you sent me your PowerPoint at all?
Yes, ma'am. Can you please share that, ma'am?
Where did you share that? Was it on WhatsApp or email?
WhatsApp.
Okay, let me have a look.
Excuse me, Alec.
Yes.
You should have already received the status of the core host, so it wouldn't be any problem for you to share the screen, unless, if not, it's the issue from your side.
Yes, so I'm going to download his presentation.
Thank you.
And I will share that with you. Just bear with me for a minute. It's opening. We'll be there. Okay, Alok, can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for the help, ma'am.
Wonderful. You can now speak.
Well, thank you, esteemed panelist, organizer of 5th KHARKIV International Legal Forum on environmental and legal aspect of sustainable development, for giving me this opportunity, and Renuka ma'am for helping me out in this hour. I would like to present and speak something about effectiveness of sustainable development goals in rendering protection to environment at international and national level. Ma'am, can we move to next slide, please? Yeah. So I would like to start with a very famous yet quite appealing as well as quite thought-provoking speech of ex-UN Secretary General, where General, as we watch the sun go down evening after evening through the smoke across the poisoned waters of our native earth, we must ask ourselves seriously whether we really wish some future universal historian on another planet to say about us. With all their genius and with all their skill, they ran out of foresight and air and food and water and ideas. So this is something been told in 1970, but it is quite appealing today even. So before we proceed further, let's see what exactly is environment, what exactly is this ecosystem, why it is so important. I don't think environment or ecosystem need any specific introduction at present, because it is around us and we are very much connected to that. Different scientists have shown four different type of ecosystem services that have been distinguished as regulating provisions, provisioning, cultural services, and supporting services. Some of these ecosystem goods and services cannot be obtained or replaced by other means. The environment should therefore be managed as a critical capital asset and as essential infrastructure for sustainable development. So the environment and ecosystem provides us so much of services and so much of help. But what exactly we are doing for that? So there, I would like to evoke the famous quote of Mahatma Gandhi: "Nature has for everyone's need, but not everyone's need." So, ma'am, can you please move to next slide, please? For the first time, yeah, here I have tried to present the key services provided by environment and the ecosystem just for a reference, so that we can able to see how we are getting benefited from this environment. So we can see different kind of services like regulating, provisioning, cultural, and supporting services. That is very much clear in this slide. So can we move to the next one, please, ma'am? Yeah, for the first time in the history, all countries share a common universal development agenda. It acknowledges that nations depend on one another and must work together to solve the world's most critical challenges. Its underlying motivation is to transform our world in the way we live, work, and do business. So definitely whatever happened in 2015, the 2015 era, it can be told as one of the watershed movement in international arena, because we came across different international frameworks like Sustainable Development Goal, the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, the Addis Ababa Action Agenda on Financing for Development, the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, the Beijing Plus 20, that is a review conference on status of women, the 2020 IG targets for biodiversity. So we can see these are the most prominent initiatives at the global scale that set the agenda, how we must evolve and how we must work for better transformation and to move for a better sustainable world. Again, I would like to invoke one famous speech of Ban Ki-moon, UN Secretary General, that is, there is no plan B because we do not have a planet B. We have to work and galvanize our action. So what exactly this sustainable development is? This is all about delivering more value in social progress, in performance improvement, and safety and health related thing. At the same time, reducing our footprint in energy and climate related thing, material and waste, at the same time water and waste. So here I would like to present these sustainable development goals, which has been instrumental from 2016, whose implementation period is from January 1, 2016 to December 31st, 2030. It comprises of 17 goals, 169 targets, and 230 indicators. The main goal behind this is no one is to be left behind. So we can see there are the 5 pillars based on which the sustainable development goals stands on. One is planet, people, prosperity, peace, and partnership. So if you will further analyze these sustainable development goals, ma'am, next slide. So from the first 1 to 6, we can see these are the unfinished Millennium Development Goals that is specifically related to social sector. The 7 to 12, everything is related to economic. And if we will talk about environmental aspect, the 13, 14, and 15. 13 specifically talks about climate action, 14 life below water, and 15 life on land. At the same time, this SDG 16 speaks about good governance. At the same time, the SDG 17 is asked for partnership for the goal, and it speaks about means of implementation. So 2030 agenda for sustainable development is very clear. It stresses upon environmental sustainability. So environmental sustainability is a central theme of the 2030 agenda, whose preamble recognizes that social and economic development depends on the sustainable management of our planet's natural resources. So if we will further analyze these sustainable development goals, we just saw in the previous slide that environmental SDGs are just 13, 14, and 15. However, the first 13 of these 17 sustainable development goals and more than 15 of the 169 targets explicitly calls for actions relating to environmental management. At the same time, all remaining SDGs and the targets depend fundamentally on goods and services that the natural environment provides. And this is clearly recognized in target 15.9, which calls on all countries to by 2020 integrate ecosystem and biodiversity values into national and local planning, development process, poverty reduction strategies, and accounts. And if we can able to achieve all this, then definitely we can able to meet our 2030 agenda. In the next slides, we can see I have tried to present all the sustainable development goals and how they are related to environment. You can see the starting from SDG 1, which speaks about no poverty, to the last one, the partnership for goal, which calls for the building of partnership for sustainable development, including the development by 2030 of new measurements of progress on sustainable development, such as environmental economical accounting. So all these things related to sustainable development and how we can integrate this with environmental factor to protect our environment. So the further things I would like to explain about the Indian context. And in Indian context, actually, what happens is India is a democratic country, and we are having better resources through which we are having cooperative and competitive federalism, by which we try to achieve these SDG targets. In Indian context, I would like to stress upon 5 verticals, that is SDG India Index, that has been designed specifically for progress monitoring of different SDGs. At the same time, localization of SDG goals, so that SDG goals can be percolated at a very local level, starting from the grassroots level, that in India is called Panchayat Raj system. At the same time, the private sector engagement, how this private sector going to be engaged in enhancing this SDG scenario so that environment protection can be met. At present, we can see there is environment, social, and governance structure, that is ESG, is gaining too much prominent. But how we are going to achieve that? So at the same time, Indian government, the SEBI, has come out with a BRSR framework, that is called Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting Framework, which speaks about how an industry can work on different principles and core elements to get into track different governing structure, implementing various strategy and risk accumulation. At the same time, how they can contribute for the effective implementation of different sustainable development goals for the improvement of society, economy in the more larger scale environment. At the same time, the SDG vertical of Indian government, which has been implemented through Niti Aayog, through the approach of cooperative and competitive federalism, the SDG vertical works towards accelerated adoption, implementation, and monitoring of the SDG frameworks and related initiatives at the national and subnational level. The vertical works closely with key stakeholders, including the government, civil society, private sectors, academia, think tanks, research organization, and multilateral organization to fast track the achievements of SDGs in the country. So again, I would like to present before you few of the schemes that Indian government can come across. That is, one is International Solar Alliance. Everyone must be aware of this initiative, where the aim is to harness solar energy. The main prime agenda was to capture all the countries between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, and global deployment of over 1,000 gigawatt of solar generation capacity and mobilization of investment of over US 1,000 billion in solar energy by 2030. And if it can be implemented, then it is going to be a icebreaker in and can help achieve the sustainable energy goals, and definitely work towards attaining SDG targets by 2030. At the same time, there is another scheme we can speak about, Ujjwala Yojana, that is for Swachha Indian, and that is for clean fuel, where every poor Indian is provided with a gas cylinder, that is LPG cylinder, which further the task of sustainable approach and improving life of people. At the same time, the Indian government has taken various steps to increase the green cover all over the country, because more the green, the more the carbon capture can happen. At the same time, they can work as a deterrent to this climate change related thing. At the same time, different initiatives has been taken, like Project Tiger, Project Elephant related things to increase the biodiversity related thing. So we can see in 2006, you will be surprised to know there were only 1411 tigers were present in India, and in 2018, that is the recent census, we found that is 2967 tigers. That is a quite jump in this tiger. So this is a concentrated approach how we can work and integrate different SDGs to get into different projects and improve our environmental factors. And as you must be knowing about 2015 Paris Agreement, where the Indian government has given its INDC, that is National Determined Contribution, where it has placed for emission intensity target reduction of 30 to 35% by 2030 by below 2005 level, and reducing the share of fossil fuel, and having installation of 175 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2022. At the same time, addition of carbon sink of 25.3 gigaton of CO2 equivalent through additional forest and tree cover by 2030. So definitely there is not something that we can say this plan is best, this plan is not best. The important thing is we need to start. Whatever India's national development contribution is, they are on a right track, and there is no doubt that too much need to be done right now. However, the first point is we have to take some action. And if you are all aware, there was a recent release of IPCC report, which is Code Red for Humanity. And you must be seeing that with the rise of just 1.1 degree temperature rise, we can see so much of phenomena where the lots of problem we are seeing, lots of climate change phenomena, lots of weather disturbances, wildfire and flooding and everything, the pandemic even taking toll. So lots of things are happening which are targeting the vulnerable section to a great extent. So at this time, what we can do, so that these things can be eradicated, we can approach in a better way. So I would like to draw one reference that I am in India, and whatever action I am doing right now, it is going to affect the person who is sitting in UK or in the Russia or anywhere else, because the environment, everything is connected. It is touches upon me and it touches upon us. It is not that if I will be polluting in India, you will be saved, or you will be polluting, then I will be saved. So we are a world, we are a family. There is a famous Sanskrit saying that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That means the world is a family. So we are a family. Whatever action we will take, that is going to affect us and affect you. So it is time to come on a common platform, engage and act now for a better and sustainable future. I would like to conclude by saying from the words of Ban Ki-moon, that is, there is no planet B. The time is running out. Let's act now. If we will not act now, then the time will never come. So there is hope. If there is hope, then definitely there is something, light is there, and we can definitely reach the targets, and we can definitely work on achieving better inclusive society. So I can see there are 40 people in the group. So how many are hopeful that we will be able to reach the sustainable development goals and targets? And how many of you feel that, yes, we will be able to take the proper action that this climate action goal we can reach? So there are 39 people. I would like to see in the chat box, how many of you can say, yes, we can see the hope. Let's be positive and let's say, yes, we are hopeful. So first message is going from me. Yes, I am hopeful. I would like to see this positive response from everyone. Let's join together and work for a better world. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am, for giving the opportunity, and sorry for this temporal glitches. I couldn't able to present my slides, but overall, yes, I am quite hopeful that you liked the presentation, and thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity, and together we will definitely achieve something better, and let's strive for excellence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alok. Thank you. Wonderful presentation, very excited and very enthusiastic, and definitely. So I think we have, as a group, presented today several issues and several possibilities also. And what is coming out of this discussion, that yes, we all agree that sustainable development framework and also environmental sustainability regulations and other assisted regulations have allowed us to move forward, think about how we can address this problem. However, implementation remains a challenge. And we need to look at the green solutions, green management systems, as already highlighted by Naeem, and also stakeholder engagement, systems thinking, and multilateral connections, understanding multilateral connections, and bringing all the stakeholders and having them buy in for your actions was highlighted by Issa and Jose, that though we have these all policies in place, even so Damini had this framework, they all have these policies in place, but the main challenge is how we bring all together and how we start doing action. And I think Alok beautifully ended it with saying that, yes, we can do it. I think prioritizing the funds to priority sectors is definitely important, but how, and the question was that how we can divert this funding for waste management or for environment or so on. But I think environment this would not be a problem unless or if we think that environment is our internal problem. It will be a problem until we think that this is an external and we have to have a fund for that. But if we internalize our funding for each project, each sector for environment, then there would be no problem of achieving these targets. And I would definitely stress that environmental leadership and regulatory leadership at all levels is really, really important. And we need to target actions for that. So thank you very much for listening, all of us. And I'm really sorry we went over time, but we are very, very grateful to have this time to us. Thank you very much.
It was a great privilege for us to have all of you. And on behalf of Yaroslav National Law University, our Ukrainian scientific community, and all of our participants, please allow me to express our greatest appreciation and gratitude for the time and effort you took to share your valuable scientific outcomes. Actually, all of us, and me personally, we are amazed with your expertise, openness, and willingness to share your valuable knowledge and vision. We are really amazed with the goal and tremendous work the Global Sustainable Futures Network does for the whole world. I'm not afraid to say this. And we are looking forward to cooperating with you. So thank you very much for your great presentation that were incredibly elaborate and incredibly detailed. And we've noted down some questions which we would like to proceed discussing with you further. So we will be very eagerly waiting for the continuation of our cooperation. So thank you one more time. It was really great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And now I would like to proceed with our final for the first part session guest. And this is an incredible opportunity for me to be able to introduce, and a great privilege, such a respected person. This is Ilona Przybuszewska, a doctor of law, attorney at law, associate professor of the chair of environmental law at the Faculty of Law and Administration